So here I am at the dashboard, the home page, once you log into the WordPress administration. And usually what we want to do is play with posts. If you want to upload, say, a new image, then we have the media section for uploading new images. And you can also do that on the fly. Typically, we want pages. And rather than look through the list, which is alphabetical with things that are nested underneath any particular section, I'm just going to search for a page, like say the testing page, if I can spell it. And then it's going to look up all pages that have something to do with testing in there. I think it's the text and of the page and the title. So here I see it found my testing page. And sometimes I just want to view the page to double check it, but usually I want to edit it. And so what I'm going to do, instead of just clicking on Edit Elementor, I am going to right click and open that in a new tab. That way, if I need to get to another page, I still have pages right there. And then it takes a minute for Elementor to load within WordPress. And then we'll get the editing screen momentarily. And on the left, we'll have elements and options. In the middle, we'll have, or to the right, we'll have the content of the page. And then often you'll have this navigation pane. If the navigation pane is missing, at the bottom here on the left, we can bring up that navigator. And I often use that in particular for two reasons. One, if I want to move stuff around, I could grab one of these icon boxes like this one right here. When I click on it in the view screen, I can see it lights up its element here in the navigator, and I can just kind of drag them and move them around. Apparently I missed. So they're pretty easy to reorder. The other thing I use the navigator for is sometimes I need to edit the container something lives in. And so this container right here has a grid layout. Some containers are going to have a flexbox layout. So the way to think about it is flexbox, a linear thing. It's either going to be horizontal, perhaps in one line, maybe that line will wrap, or a grid. So for example, if I switch this to flexbox, then notice they're not all equally spaced. They just kind of ran out of room and then they started wrapping to the next row. So in this case, I do want the grid layout. And for a grid, you have to identify your rows and columns and rows. So the two reasons I want the navigator is if I, need to move stuff around, or if I need to, say, edit a container's settings, which could be like the background of the container. Like we have some containers that are going to have images in the background. That would happen under container, and then either style, like a background overlay, and then sometimes we need to jump into the advanced features for the container that stuff lives in. All right. When you select an object on the page, it's going to bring up its editing features, and each block of stuff in here is going to have its own content. So here, this box has an icon, a title, and a description, which I'm not using for this particular one. And then I can style the icon. I can style the content, like the title and the description. And then I can style the box as a whole here. And then sometimes we want the advanced options, which is just some other CSS features that apply to the whole box. And then the main thing I usually use in advance, aside from some alignment stuff, is adding an ID to reference something, or a class for a pre-designed style. Icons are available in the icon library, which is just SVG images. And so we have 2 or 3 kind of groups of icons. We have the Elementor icons, we have the Font Awesome icons, which are mixed together here. If you upload your own SVG icon, then that will later be available under uploaded SVG. And so these are some icons that didn't come with the system that we're using that we had to put in there. So if you want to use the wolf, that's where you're going to find it, or the canvas logo, for example. And again, the whole box is a link in this case, if you choose to use it that way. Let's check some other stuff out here. So again, if I select something on the screen, it's going to open up its container on the side. and I can check out the container settings. This container has a heading, a text box. So here's my heading, here's my text box, and it has another container, and that other container has a whole bunch of text boxes. So in this case, I had one container that I wanted to have a title and a description across the top, but then I wanted a grid of other stuff underneath. So you can have containers within containers to make stuff like this happen. Text boxes have a pretty limited set of formats, kind of like a mini word processor. Let's pick on the Baker County one. Notice that the blue background that's set in the style here for the container has yellow links, and the yellow background has blue links. So the default in the system is a blue link. So if you put in a link, it's going to be this blue and hover gray. You can manually change the style on any one of these in a text box by switching from the visual to the text version. And in this case, I used the class light link to get the yellow-white hover version of the link. Other things, like if I want a link to be a button, then I simply add something like this, a link, and then I just surround the text within the link inside the anchor tag with the button tags in HTML. So for example, if we wanted that phone number up there to be a button, then we would just sneak in here where the text for the link is and squeeze in the button tag, start and end it in the right spot. And then I have it as a button. Now notice the formatting got a little messed up. That's going to happen often in these text boxes with Elementor for some reason. And the only way I know to fix it is to go back to visual, pick a line like that one right there, and then edit it in the visual version. So I'm just going to enter for a new line and then backspace, and it straightens out the formatting. But often when you edit in text, some things get a little bit messed up. Elementor gets confused, and you have to fix it in the visual, which is some kind of simple maneuver like add a new line, get rid of the new line. And there, so the standard button is going to be blue on yellow. The yellow on blue button is a new class called yellow on blue button if we wanted to switch that. And that'll be documented in the marketing page eventually. So I'm just going to go back here and get rid of that button. But most of the things that you need to do aren't going to require playing around with the HTML or CSS. It's just a matter of editing text. I notice again, the formatting got messed up because I went in the text version to fix it. I'm going to go back to visual and just put a new line and get rid of it. If you need to add a new element to the page, those are widgets. And let's suppose we needed another box here, then this is set up for me to add another box. So I just hit the plus and that'll put a new box in there. If I need, say, maybe a new title in here, then I would go to the menu button here to the right at the top in the Elementor screen, and then I can search for the kind of widget that I want. And so maybe I want to drop an image in. So then I just take the image and I just put it where I want it, and then I can go search for the image and then style it however I want. And notice it appears in there. If you put something in you don't like it, just go over to the navigator, right click, and remove it. And we have a ton of widgets to play with here. But mostly what we're going to do is we're just going to edit content. So if you have any questions about style of the different widgets, let us know. Last, once you're done with your editing, you want to hit update. Give it a moment to update. And 99.9% of the time, the view you have here in the editor is just like what people are going to see. But if you have any doubt, then after it updates, hit the preview button. It'll load a preview in a new tab just to confirm your edits are what you want. If, like here, I had opened up the page I wanted to edit in a new tab, and again, when we want to edit a page, we edit with Elementor. So if you click the edit with Elementor and that overwrote like your pages here, to get back once you're done, you would hit the left side menu button at the top, and then you would exit the page you're editing. So that exits out of Elementor and takes us back to WordPress. Notice since it is an Elementor page, in the regular edit view of WordPress, I don't see any of the content. I have to jump into Elementor to see the content to edit it. If you want to get back to pages, just click that menu there and that takes you back to your pages.